Rick Searfoss, 9 years in the United States Astronaut Corps, 40 days in orbit, 3 NASA shuttle missions, crew member and mission commander, sharing his experiences and skills with audiences all over the country. His topics range from effective team building to adaptability and peak performance.
And liftoff of Space Shuttle Columbia on a mission expanding our knowledge and understanding of the human nervous system.
Roger roll, Columbia.
That's not a bad way to get to work. You know, that was the start of an incredible adventure for me as the commander of my 3rd space shuttle mission. But really, it was so much more than an adventure. It was a venture requiring the work of thousands of people to pull together to get to the point where we could actually launch it into space. I maintain, though, because it was a venture and not just an adventure, that is very similar to the challenges that you all face as senior leaders.
So in that sense, I'm exactly like you. Now, I come from a very technical background. I observed that many of you did not as I walked around. That's okay.
Starts with purpose, that sense of what you're all about, the why. Then to program, the execution phase, the tactics to go with the strategy, so to speak. People who make it all happen, and then perspectives surrounding all that.
I want to emphasize the aspect of choosing the hard. Consciously going after things that you know are going to be challenging and difficult, because you recognize you will accomplish so much more than if you just sort of muddled along without those stretch goals, they're often called. Let me tell you, human spaceflight is supremely difficult.
So the mission that matters, in my definition, is service to others. And having this attitude, no matter what your particular business is or what the metrics are and the technical things you have to do to succeed in the business, to have this mindset that we are really making a difference for others. And
launching teams, exploring leadership. As shuttle commander for the STS-90 NeuroLab mission in 1998, Rick Searfoss built a team so intricately synchronized that hundreds of neurological experiments were completed, far beyond the ambitious goals of this, the most complex space research mission ever.
Now, as far as execution on a daily basis goes, I come from a very, very dynamic business. Flying fighter aircraft, test flying projects in the astronaut business. Things happen in a real hurry. In fact, we have a saying in that business, nothing is so bad that you can't make it worse. And that is very, very true. Think about it for a second. In order to not make things worse and frame it in a more positive light, to move forward in a positive way in daily execution, you have to apply correct principles. It's PAPA, stands for preparation, awareness, persistence, and accountability. I was a happy rocket man in the right seat. We were going about 12,000 miles an hour, 150 miles off the Carolina coast, screaming up to the northeast. And it was going great until it wasn't. At one point, the alarms went off, and it's a very loud, annoying klaxon that goes off. Ground starts virtually shouting up to me. It seemed like they were shouting to me, PLT in the right seat. PLT, we show hydraulic leak system 3, execute the procedure. I immediately got into the mode I'd been trained for. Stepped in, I confirmed on our own instrumentation that it was System 3, verbally confirmed that with our commander, all part of our process and how we do our things. And he goes, yep, I see System 3. Reached down wearing this big old bulky pressure suit glove. I looked at 3 switches down here. They're about an inch apart for Systems 1, 2, and 3 to basically turn that system off and isolate it. Now, there's a little bit of a backstory you need to know with this, and that is the space shuttle will operate fine on ascent with 2 of its 3 hydraulic systems. The hydraulics go down into the main engine bells, and that's what steers. So think of power steering, okay? But it won't operate on just one of them. If I had reached down and turned off either of those 2 good systems inadvertently, we would have gone corkscrewing through the sky. Atlantis would now be in the bottom of the Atlantic. When it was going on, I did not have my heart rate go up a bit. It was just into this mode of what I had done hundreds of times before in the simulator. Now, a few seconds later, after we got the main engine cut off, the system was isolated, I had done the emergency procedure properly, then the heartbeat really went up. We got the main engine cut off, and it's like, dude, this is not the simulator today. This is the real deal. And it really caused me to reflect how grateful I was for the incredible preparation that led to that awareness, persistence, and the accountability I felt to be totally ready for anything that we had as a crew. I'm going to talk just a little bit about a different aspect of innovation. Now, I know that's one of your key values, and when it comes to bringing innovative products and services to market, that's generally what we talk about and think about when we think about innovation in a business sense. But I'm going to come at it from my background as an operational guy. As a pilot and in the astronaut business, it's very much line operations. And the kind of innovation that you have to practice in that is not producing a new widget necessarily, but it's in tweaking and sometimes very incremental, small, clever little changes to the way you do business.
As a contract deliverable for a commercial contract that we had to make a prototype rocket-powered racing airplane, we got to fly up at Oshkosh, which is just, a short drive from here in Chicago, the Oshkosh Air Show. Flew 3 demo flights there. It was sort of the culmination of this 40-flight test program. And for me as a pilot, just an incredible experience, not only the fun side of actually flying a vehicle with this high performance and helping develop it, but working with a team that was able to put this together. It was very, very gratifying to fly this in front of 100,000 people or so and show off what we did together as a team.
As a commander, my job is to work the matrix. Now, that's nothing more than having the right spirit of collaboration and understanding, whether you're in a formal leadership position or not, that all of the relationships around you, you need to build and strengthen those. It's not just communications to solve problems. It's communications with a long-term perspective to build the relationships to strengthen the matrix that you're part of. I believe that an understanding of tradition and an appropriate view of history is important. Winston Churchill said that the farther you can look back in history, the more clearly you can see the future. And I believe that's a correct, true principle. So this happens to be Greece from space. That's Athens, Corinth. Ancient Sparta was over here. Now, I'm not saying that Doug actually had direct contact with guys like Socrates and Plato, but I believe that he brings a wealth of experience. 90% effort is not good enough. This is an external fuel tank. It weighs about 65,000 pounds. It's empty, filled up with about 400,000 or 500,000 pounds of liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen to fuel the space shuttle. When we go to orbit, it almost makes it there with us. It gets to 98% of the speed. The metaphor for us, I think it's fantastic. 98% doesn't hack it.
And I looked through the window, and you know what I saw? Sewing machines. I go, okay, well, this is strange. What's this all about? I opened the door, and I said, anyone here? And I hear this little voice from the back. Yeah, I'm here. Come on back. So I walked on back, and I saw a seasoned veteran of the space program, this lady who must have been very close to retirement. I said, what goes on here? And then it came to me, and she said, well, this is where we sew up the thermal blankets that are on top of the shuttles. And she was a space shuttle seamstress. And I had no concept that such a job ever even existed. And we got to talk, and she explained to me how they did what they did, and I told her a little bit about crew perspective and what it was like being up in space. Showed her some pictures of my kids and said, they really appreciate what you do. And then she pulled out some pictures of her grandkids. We had a wonderful human me of its incredible value was when I was getting ready to leave, and she said, I've worked out here over 30 years. I go, yeah, well, thanks for all your service. She said, I'm not done. I have never met an astronaut before. Thanks for coming by and just taking some time, And how easy was it for me to do? How easy is it for you as pretty senior people in your organizations to keep your radar scan and being aware of everyone who's in your organization, who supports your organization?
Doing the right thing by your people, taking care of your people. And that's epitomized by this. As a military person, as a young trainee to be an officer when I was at the Air Force Academy, it was drilled into me over and over, eat last. So that means when you have people working for you, when you're a leader out in the field, you never do the selfish thing. You take care of your people first. You literally eat last. It's a time-honored military tradition that the officers eat after all their troops are taken care of. Now, trust is a first-order requirement within an organization. It's a first-order requirement, really, to be long-term effective in sales, particularly relationship selling and complex sales and the kinds of work that you do as opposed to those in I would call it a lower tier of sales, more transactional. But trustworthiness is the decision that comes before that to be absolutely of the highest integrity. As a crew, you look around at one another and you go, yeah, we're going to go do this. And you literally trust your lives to one another. And there is no feeling better, I believe, in the workplace than to be able to trust your lives to one another. Now, you may not have to literally do that. Most of us don't on a day-to-day basis. That's fine. But to have that level of trust makes all the difference. So you have to do your part.
What is it like to have one chance to land a $2 billion spacecraft with 7 lives at stake? This man knows. Rick Searfoss, Air Force test pilot, recipient of the Distinguished Flying Cross, astronaut.
The last element is perspective. Of all of these things, this is the one area I think I really have a unique take on it. Having been off the planet, being separated from Mother Earth in an incredible set of experiences gives you a little bit different way of looking at things.
In fact, I have 3 things that I call my 3 ops. And they start with having an opportunities orientation, and also optics, having a long-range sort of view, and then optimism.
Now, I am not a silver linings optimist, and I don't think we should be. I don't think we should just blunder through life going, everything's going to be great. Because we have to work hard. We have to choose the hard. We have to generate the speed and energy which causes the max Q and puts us under pressure and stress. But when we do that and couple it with doing the right things and working hard, we have every reason to believe that we should be optimistic, that the outcomes will be positive.
Does that mean we should just throw up our hands and say, well, we can't predict the future, so let's not prepare for it? Absolutely not. We build on the strengths and successes of the past. We continue to strive to prepare and do all of the things to keep moving our awareness horizon out and getting to the point where we see the possibilities that are ahead of us. The future will belong to those who choose to make it happen.
One day, one of these pilots is flying along one of the islands, and there's a lot of penguins down there. And he sees a whole row of penguins lined up on the rocks. And as he flies by one direction, he notices, and he's at low altitude, a couple hundred feet, he notices the penguins are following him like this. He thinks, well, hey, that's pretty cool. He turns around, comes back the other way. They follow him again. So being the mischievous fighter pilot he is, he flies out to sea, comes straight at those penguins, and they're looking at him as he comes up, and then they go all the way back over and tip over. The first known instance of penguin tipping. Okay. Now what's the lesson for us? The lesson is that people you serve, whether they're internal to the company or your ultimate customers, they want simple, elegant solutions. They don't want to be tipped over. And
flying in space and seeing this planet stretched out before me made me think typically of, not the day-to-day, but why are we even here on the planet? What role do I have as a human being? The bigger picture stuff. And we need to work to do that, because we're all, every one of us is walking around like this with their phone and answering. And how often do we, take time to ponder, to think about the big picture and actually consciously do that? It takes effort, and I maintain more effort than ever these days because of all the distractions.
Now, I hope after our last hour together, you're reflecting on the human side of my experiences, and as I've shared some of those emotions and thoughts with you in ways that I think have helped me to reach greater heights in my career, I hope you're taking the principles on board, comparing them to the activities that you need to do, and preparing yourself to spring from great heights that you're already at up to the next level. I've just loved working with this group, preparing to talk to you, sharing some of myself with you, and for you, let me close with the fact, and it is an indisputable fact, that your efforts can have a global effect, not just for your company, but for the people that you love and that you serve and that you're there for. So keep it up, keep reaching those greater heights, and all the best. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time. It's just been wonderful to share this hour with you. Thank you.
Rick Searfoss, launching teams, exploring leadership.